He took his son out for a fancy dinner to teach him gratitude, but when a billionaire saw a poor mother quietly skipping her own meals so her children could eat, he stood up, and did something that changed all their lives forever. Daniel Mercer, one of the most influential billionaires in the United States, rarely had moments where he could simply be a father rather than a CEO, but tonight he'd promised his son Liam that they would have dinner together, just the two of them, no meetings, no phone calls, no business emergencies. They chose a warm, beautifully lit family restaurant in downtown Chicago, not too fancy, not too common, just the kind of place where Daniel hoped his son would feel normal. As they sat in their booth, Liam asked innocent questions, curious about the world, about why they couldn't help more people despite having so much money, questions that made Daniel pause between sips of water and give thoughts deeper than any boardroom discussion. While they waited for food, Daniel's gaze drifted across the room, catching a scene so small and quiet that most would overlook it, a thin, exhausted woman sitting with two children, a boy and a girl, both around 6 or 7. She had ordered only one small plate, pushing all the food toward the children, smiling every time one of them looked up at her as if she wasn't hungry at all. But Daniel noticed the way her hands trembled, the way her eyes avoided the waitress when the bill came, the way she tightly held her purse as if she feared there wouldn't be enough. She would occasionally lift her fork, pretend to take a bite, then set it down and drink water instead. Liam caught Daniel staring and turned to look too, his young expression shifting from curiosity to heartfelt concern. "Dad," he whispered, "why isn't she eating?" And at that moment something inside Daniel broke, something he didn't know was quietly cracking for years. The billionaire who funded global foundations, built hospitals, and donated millions suddenly realized that he had missed the simplest kind of kindness, the kind that happens quietly, without cameras, without press coverage, simply because a human sees another human. As their food arrived, Daniel couldn't bring himself to take a bite. His mind raced the way it did before major acquisitions, but this time the stakes were not financial, they were moral. "Liam," he said softly, "sometimes people are fighting battles we don't see." His son nodded slowly, watching the woman as she cut the small piece of chicken into tiny portions for her kids. The sight hit Daniel harder than he expected. He had grown up poor, something he almost never talked about, raised by a single mother who constantly skipped meals so he could eat. For a split second, he saw his own mother in that woman's tired eyes. Then he made a decision. Not a calculated one, not a strategic one, a human decision. He stood up from the booth with a determination Liam had only seen during important mergers, and as he started walking toward the counter, Liam followed silently, sensing something meaningful was about to happen, something he would never forget. Daniel approached the cashier with a calmness that concealed the storm in his heart, requesting quietly that he be allowed to pay not only for the woman's bill but also for an entire month of meals for the family, but the cashier shook her head softly and said, "Sir, she comes here only when she can afford the smallest order, she hasn't been here in weeks." That answer felt like a punch to Daniel's chest, stirring memories of nights when his mother would drink tea instead of eating so she could save money for his school supplies. He took a deep breath, turned around, and walked straight toward the woman's table. The children noticed him first, their innocent eyes wide, unsure whether to smile or hide. The mother looked up carefully, her pride and fear battling in her tired expression. "Hi," Daniel said gently, "I couldn't help noticing, you haven't touched your food." She straightened her shoulders, ready to defend herself, ready to pretend she wasn't starving. "I'm fine," she whispered, "the kids were hungry." Daniel smiled softly, a smile that carried memories of his own mother's sacrifices. "My name is Daniel," he said, extending a hand. She hesitated before shaking it, confused by the kindness. "I'm Elena," she replied. Liam stepped closer, standing beside his father like a small shadow of compassion. "Can we get you something else to eat?" Daniel asked. Elena's eyes softened, then hardened almost instantly. "Thank you, but no," she said, trying to hide the embarrassment burning in her voice. "We're okay." Daniel knew that tone, he had heard it countless times from his own mother, the tone of someone who would rather starve than accept pity. So he changed his approach. "Look," he said gently, "when I was young, my mother did exactly what you're doing right now. She pretended she wasn't hungry so I could eat. If someone had helped her back then, maybe her life would have been easier." Elena's eyes filled with tears she tried desperately not to let fall. Her children looked at her, then at Daniel, not fully understanding the conversation but understanding enough to know something important was happening. Liam suddenly stepped forward and placed his untouched slice of garlic bread in front of her. "My dad says strong people take care of others," he said softly. "You take care of them, so maybe someone should take care of you." Elena's lips trembled as a tear finally escaped. Daniel signaled a waiter, asking them to bring a full meal, one that Elena could not refuse because he framed it differently. "This is not charity," he said firmly. "This is a thank you. Thank you for being a mother who sacrifices everything." She wiped her tears, nodding silently as the waiter placed warm dishes in front of her. For the first time in what looked like days, she ate. Slowly at first, then steadily as her body remembered hunger. Her children clapped and giggled, relieved to see their mother eating. Daniel exchanged a look with Liam, a silent understanding passing between them. This wasn't the end of the kindness, it was only the beginning. After dinner, Daniel asked if he could walk them to the bus stop, and though Elena hesitated, the cold Chicago wind convinced her to accept. Along the walk, she finally opened up, telling fragments of her story, how she lost her husband in an accident, how medical bills swallowed everything she owned, how she had been working 2 part-time jobs but still couldn't afford a stable home, how she dreamed of giving her children a life where they wouldn't have to fear whether they would eat the next day. Daniel listened with a seriousness that surprised even him. He was used to hearing pitch decks and investment proposals, but this was the raw truth of survival, the voice of someone who didn't want wealth or comfort, just safety for her children. When they reached the dimly lit bus stop, Elena thanked him again, apologizing for being a burden, a phrase that made Daniel stop in his tracks. "Don't ever call yourself that," he said firmly. "You're one of the strongest people I've ever met." She lowered her eyes, unused to receiving such words. Before the bus arrived, Daniel handed her his business card, though she didn't recognize the name. "Come to my office tomorrow morning," he said calmly. "There's something I need to discuss with you." She panicked instantly. "Sir, I can't work in a place like your office. I don't have degrees, I don't have," Daniel raised a hand gently. "It's not about your degrees. Just trust me." When the bus pulled up, the children hugged Daniel unexpectedly, thanking him in small voices that broke his heart. As the bus drove away, Liam tugged at his father's sleeve. "Dad," he said softly, "you're going to help them, right?" Daniel looked at his son, the child he had always wanted to teach how to be good, not just wealthy, and nodded. "Yes," he whispered, "we're going to change their lives." The next morning, when Elena appeared in Daniel's massive office building, she walked slowly, almost trembling, intimidated by the marble floors and the security guards who seemed too polished, too distant from her world. When the receptionist led her to the private elevator, she clutched her purse like a lifeline. But when the doors opened to Daniel's warm smile, she felt a tiny spark of hope she had not felt in years. He sat her down, offering coffee and breakfast, then revealed the unbelievable truth. He was not just a kind man from a restaurant, he was the CEO and founder of Mercer Industries, one of the biggest companies in the nation. Elena froze. She didn't know whether to stand, bow, apologize, or run. Daniel continued gently, explaining that he wanted to offer her a stable job at the company, daycare for her children, temporary housing the company provided for struggling families, and full scholarships for her kids' education. Elena burst into silent tears, completely overwhelmed. Why would you do this for us?" she whispered. Daniel leaned forward, eyes soft. "Because once upon a time, someone helped my mother. And I promised myself that when I grew up, would do the same for someone else." Elena accepted the job, though she still doubted whether she deserved such kindness, but Daniel reassured her at every step, pairing her with mentors, helping her settle into her new responsibilities, and watching her confidence grow. Her children were enrolled in the company's learning center, where they received meals, tutoring, and a level of care they had never known before. Daniel visited them often, bringing Liam along so he could see firsthand what compassion could build. Weeks turned into months, and Elena transformed before everyone's eyes. Her posture straightened, her eyes brightened, her laughter returned, and the fear she once carried like a shadow slowly disappeared. She climbed positions in the company, proving not only hardworking but remarkably intelligent. Her organizational skills were unmatched, shaped by years of managing life with almost nothing. Daniel's executives noticed how she inspired others, how she always showed up early and stayed late, how she became a reminder of why the company existed beyond profit, to change lives. One afternoon, during a company event, Liam tugged Daniel's sleeve again. "Dad," he whispered, watching Elena speak to the employees with newfound confidence, "is she happy now?" Daniel smiled. "Yes," he said. "But the happiest part is, her kids will grow up knowing their mom never gave up." A year later, Elena invited Daniel and Liam to her new apartment, a bright, warm home filled with children's drawings, freshly cooked food, and laughter. She asked them to sit while her kids excitedly showed Liam their school projects. Then she placed a framed photograph in Daniel's hands. It showed her kids, smiling widely, holding a sign that read, "Thank you for giving our mom her smile back." Daniel swallowed hard, touched in a way no business achievement had ever touched him. "You did the hardest part," he told her softly. "You survived." Elena shook her head, tears glimmering. "No," she whispered. "You saw me when the world didn't." Daniel realized then that the dinner he had planned for his son wasn't just about gratitude, it became the lesson of a lifetime. Liam, watching the scene, understood that real wealth wasn't about what you owned but what you gave. And so, the night that began with a simple family dinner became a turning point, not just for the poor mother who once pretended she wasn't hungry, but for a billionaire who remembered his own mother's sacrifices, and for a boy who learned that the greatest miracles happen when kindness meets courage. In the end, Daniel didn't just change one family's life, he changed his son's heart, proving that the most incredible acts of generosity happen quietly, in small restaurants, under warm lights, when one human decides to see another. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who still believes in kindness. Your one click can spread hope to thousands.